The worlds of Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere have been praised for their hard magic systems. Magic systems that follow a strict set of rules that can be built upon to do fantastic things. Of these magic systems, none has been praised for their structure more than Allomancy from the Mistborn books. In this magic system, individuals who are genetically predisposed can ingest and burn certain metals inside of them, like copper, steel, and tin, to access different powers and abilities. This magic system also happens to be the subject of the biggest retcon to any magic system in Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere thus far, the Atium Retcon.
Allomancy is the magic system from the Mistborn books. Practitioners of this magic system, called Mistborn or Mistings, ingest certain types of metal and they can then burn this metal inside themselves to gain access to an ability or power. During the original trilogy of Mistborn books, the allomantic table looked like this: 10 allomantic metals, 4 metals in the physical category being steel, iron, pewter, and tin, 4 mental metals being zinc, brass, copper, and bronze, and then 2 special metals being gold and atium. By the end of the first trilogy, 3 more metals were added to the table: duralumin, aluminum, and electrum. But the table still had a few holes in it.
Even in world, atium seems like a weird opposite to gold. It breaks the pattern of the other 8 known allomantic metals at the time, and even Kelsier says that gold is more of a complement to atium than its opposite.
Thinking of atium reminded her of something important, something she'd been bothered by on several occasions. "You never taught me the 9th metal," she accused, turning. Kelsier shrugged. "I told you, it wasn't very important." "Still, what is it? Some alloy of atium, I assume?" Kelsier shook his head. "No, the last 2 metals don't follow the same pattern as the basic 8. The 9th metal is gold."
This squares up well with the metal malatium, which is actually an alloy of gold and atium, Kelsier's 11th metal. Malatium? More like maladium.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
These holes would be filled in during Era 2 with the additions of nigrosyl, chromium, cadmium, and bendalloy. These metals filled the slot of the 2 missing enhancement metals and the 2 external temporal metals. Atium was moved off the table and placed into a special category with a metal called lerasium.
Lerasium or lerasium is preservation's god metal. Anyone can use it, and burning it makes a direct connection between that person and preservation, turning them into a full Mistborn, which is why I burned some before recording this section. Each shard has a god metal, a physical manifestation of that shard's power.
Atium is also a god metal. It's the physical manifestation of the shard ruins investiture. This metal can only be burned by a Mistborn, and it allows the user to see a couple seconds into the future.
While this is incredibly helpful and kind of busted in combat, it is significantly less powerful than lerasium, which, turns someone into a Mistborn. It's also kind of weird that the only way to use Atium's god metal is through Preservation's magic system. This is probably one of the reasons why I got retconned.
As it turns out, we've never seen pure Atium in the Cosmere, not in Era 1 or Era 2. The metal that we've experienced and seen used on the page has been an alloy this whole time. Somehow, Preservation decided to co-opt Atium into their magic system and made it naturally generate as an alloy of electrum near Ruin's perpendicularity in the pits of Hathsin. All of this information was given to the fandom in a post made by Peter Ahlstrom of Dragonsteel and later confirmed by Brandon.
Primary question. Peter recently said something about Atium in Era 1 actually being an Atium Electrum alloy,
Yes.
which is called Naladium. Is this accurate?
This is accurate,
Okay.
yes. You can,
Given
by the way,
these-
just continue to call it Atium. That's what they think Atium is.
In world?
Yes.
I can't speak for other fans, but this change feels weird to me. It feels kind of clunky and just adds more questions than it does answers. I get why it was done, right? Atium behaves really differently from the other god metals in the Cosmere that we've seen, like rasium, lerasium, trellium, harmonium, just behaves completely different. And it is just really weird that it's a shard co-opting the god metal of another shard.
Rasium conducts investiture through it, Trellium repels investiture, Harmonium copies kinetic uses of investiture, Tanavastium grants access to surges, Corivelium can presumably change its shape, Pure Atium allows one a vision of the spiritual realm when burned, and can steal any spiritual attribute when used as a hemalurgic spike, and Lerasium connects one to preservation, turning that person into a Mistborn.
This retcon fixes the problem of preservation making an entire set of mistings for another shard's god metal by changing the metal that they were burning. Oh, they aren't burning Atium, they're burning Electrum this whole time, like some sort of magic system magic trick. This change brings Atium more in line with other god metals in the Cosmere, as well as bringing it more in line with how Brandon sees Atium working in a Mistborn adaptation. Brandon thinks that because Atium is so weird and different, and because it's a god metal, that it should be able to be used by every Allomancer, not just Mistborn. This would add additional tension to every fight, because who knows if, like, this random thug you're fighting also has a bead of Atium. This would make Atium more valuable because you're increasing the demand for it by allowing all Mistings to use it, while presumably maintaining the same supply as in the original trilogy. And I am sure Ham would love to discuss the ramifications that this change would bring to Atium economics. The retcon makes sense. I understand the changes, I understand why they did it, but it does make going back and reading the Hero of Ages a little bit weird. Like, why did not having access to the Atium meaningfully diminish Ruin's power? Like, that's his metal, and even if it's an alloy, thousands of Radiants running around on Roshar with an alloy of Honor's god metal being wielded didn't seem to, like, diminish his power. A shard's power is essentially infinite, but, like, how fast and how much power they can draw does change depending on how much they're invested. So I could see that, but I also don't understand why that power just being locked away in a physical form would prevent Ruin from just insta-killing the world. Anyway, I'd love to hear what you think of this retcon, and if you think it makes sense or if it muddies the waters more. It's also important to remember that this retcon isn't 100% canonical yet. It has been confirmed in words of Brandon, but it has not yet appeared on the page, and as such, this retcon is not entirely canon. But yeah, thanks for watching. If you could subscribe, that would be great. A big number go up, make brain feel good. All right, have an excellent time of day. Bye, guys.